But John put into the mouth of Peter the phrase, "Boys, I'm a fisherman again. Who's with me?" That's literally what he says. And so it's after the crucifixion and all that kind of stuff. Then Peter says, "Well, I'm a fisherman again. Let's go fishing. Who's with me?" And they went fishing with him. The middle part of John 21 is the miracle of the 153 fish. You know, they were out fishing. They'd been fishing all night. They hadn't caught anything. And this guy out on the shore said, "Put your net in on the other side of the boat, you fools." Like these guys hadn't been fishermen all their lives. And I've always had this image of what they must have looked like standing on the boat and saying, "Put the net in on the other side." I mean, does this guy not know how fishing works? There's fish everywhere. And then I also have this other touching personal story. We had a little children's Bible that it had pictures and illustrations in it, and it had an illustration of this. And the illustration that it has is that Jesus is sitting on the beach, and you can see the guys out there. Peter is jumping off the boat because as soon as he sees this huge catch of fish, he said, "Well, that must be Jesus out there." He's jumping off the boat, and Jesus is sitting on the beach in just his underwear, and he's got a fire going, and there are 3 fish laying on the fire. Okay, and I said to Kate, "Well, the guys out there have the fish. Where do you think Jesus got the fish?" And she was maybe 5 or 6, I don't know how old. And she said, "Oh, well, he just walked out into the water and put his hands down and said, 'Here, fishy, fishy.'" One of my favorite Bible stories. It didn't make it into John's version.
Speaking of John, he's really big on fish. Of course, if it is John writing it, so we don't know who wrote the book, but he has a fisherman. But it's also the gospel of love, the reason that most Christian churches don't like to use it. And so the fish and the love things together very much in his gospel.
That makes me wonder too, because so much of what has been passed on in the Bible is obviously in the context of the culture that they came out of. What is it from where we are today that we look back at the Bible, the negative ideas that have been passed on, and unfortunately even used by less scrupulous members of the church as well. That what really has been passed on? What is stuff that really in our our culture is stuff that really just needs to be essentially just discarded or used as an object lesson of what isn't love and what isn't caring. The Old Testament for sure is full of stories like that, but there's a lot of negative ideas. But there's so much positive that it's still still makes it a very important work and one of the backbones of Western culture, because it's been with us for close to 1700 years. It's been part of Western culture ever since Constantine pretty much mandated Christianity as the religion of the empire. So I don't know what y'all's thoughts are about essentially what is the stuff we keep, what is the stuff that we in our culture see as the worthwhile parts that do signify love, and what are the parts that are either made up, or however you want to put it, is the stuff that is far less savory to our mind, and where we are today.
Well, you got 2 points I did make up on that one. One, we really don't have cultural points today because our Bibles are translated into whatever. Our little red Bible we have is from the 1950s.
Yeah.
It has 1950s or 1960s ideas of what Christianity should be said in the Bible. And Larry always pushes that Bible, but when he gets up on the pulpit, he goes, really, it's what they really say in Greek. He doesn't all the time. There's this literal translation. How come it doesn't translate it as that? Come on. Because it has that, progressive, liberal, 60s idea of the world, on one hand. On the other hand it isn't necessarily, at least the New Testament is his opposition to the culture of the times. That's what Christianity is opposition to the culture. And we actually dumped a lot. How much of our crap have we dumped on the Bible is not there? Homophobia, misogyny. The Bible's not. The New Testament, even in the Old Testament, is not homophobic. The New Testament is very supportive of women, very supportive of women having power in the church. And when we talk about all that, that's why it was bad back then, and we should go. We're dumping on that. That's not the story in the Bible at all. It's not simply not in the Bible. So. We're dumping a lot of that on, and then post that on top of these really awful translations.
All the things dumped it on.
Yeah.
It's been there for 1600 years.
Well, no, we got back and we're as liberals we go say, well, we don't want to say that because they were so bad for women. Well, they were not bad for women. We're your church you grew up in may have been bad, but that were badly translating and badly interpreting and hiding stuff.
It was specifically chosen. Augustine's words were specifically chosen to help institutionalize the church. And as Pagel says, that brought the church down to us. But John Chrysostom's work, this is 1600 years ago, specifically was chosen, and he was misogynist. So it's not something recently applied by us.
No, but I'm talking about what we think now, today.
But I think
that's
what the Bible stuff is for. The Bible isn't this thing that stays still. This is a kind of a weird idea that, I don't know who's pushing this idea, but it's people who have no idea about the history of the Bible. The Bible has continuously changed. The Jews have a mechanism for continuously rewriting the whole damn thing. They take pieces out, throw it, we don't have this. And they take commentaries that are 100 years old and say, we should say this now. I like this a lot better. And it becomes part of the text. And they don't do that with the Pentateuch, but they do that with all the rest of the stories. And I think that's what we're supposed to do too. I believe that our calling is to write the Bible over again. And I am willing to say, this is my transition to the writing process.
I was going to say, I recognize
it. It just occurred to me, but I believe that that's what Christians are called to do, is to write the Bible that you can believe.